In part 2 of this lecture, we will continue with some additional principles of learning and transfer. To maximize learning, trainees need to practice what they're reading, listening to, and discussing. Practice opportunities should involve the same actions and be performed under the same conditions mentioned in the learning outcomes. Trainees should be expected to perform at the level identified by learning outcomes, and a measurement tool will need to be created in order to assess their proficiency. And finally, the process should provide constructive feedback from the trainer, from the equipment, or from quiz feedback, for example, and should allow trainees to learn from their mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes as long as people learn from them. If they're not learning from the mistakes, then it's not okay to make mistakes. There are different types of practice that can be incorporated in a training program. First, trainees tend to learn better when practice is spaced and distributed over time and sessions, with breaks in between. The rest periods help the brain strengthen learned associations and reduce fatigue. Massed practice, on the other hand, occurs in a single session without breaks, like cramming for an exam just hours before it starts. Although spaced practice tends to be better, it isn't always practical. 2, we may use whole practice or part practice to help trainees tackle a particular task. Whole practice involves all of the behaviors of a task being practiced simultaneously. It's usually best for tasks that are organized or relatively simple. Other tasks can be broken into parts, and each one practiced separately. This is called part practice. Once each part is mastered, they can be combined to create the finished product, the completed task. Part practice is usually best for complex tasks and those that are less organized. Simply making mistakes in the training situation is not enough for learning to occur. Instead, trainees need to take the time to figure out what went wrong and why the error occurred in the first place before they identify ways of preventing this error from ever happening again. Error management training can teach people how to use their mistakes to learn and grow. Regardless of the type of practice that trainees engage in, we should encourage overlearning, the process of continuously using new KSAOs even after mastering them. Annual certification programs like CPR may attempt to do this through their refresher courses by focusing on the most important information. Ideally, we want trainees to overlearn and practice so much that their new skills become automatic and like second nature. Michael Jordan of the Chicago Bulls attributed his success on the basketball court to automatization. He practiced so much that his muscle memory took over during games, and he didn't have to think that much about how to play. In order to decide what type of practice to incorporate in a training program, we have to look to the training context and refer back to the needs assessment process. Practice has the greatest effect when it involves constructive feedback about how trainees performed in the training situation and about how they can improve for the next time they practice or for when they use the new skill on the job. This feedback also helps trainees gauge their progress in the program and helps them adjust their learning strategy to better suit the situation. Feedback should be specific, focused on behaviors, not personalities, not interests, and come from multiple sources. For example, trainees can receive feedback from their trainers and managers, from their exam and quiz results, from observing other people on the job performing a behavior correctly, and from information provided through the performance management system through performance appraisal. The sooner feedback can be shared with trainees, the bigger the impact it's going to have on their learning and transfer. Learners are ultimately responsible for their own learning, and self-management training teaches them how to become their own trainers. This type of training can teach trainees how to set personalized learning goals and goals for transferring training to the workplace. They also learn how to regulate their energy and attention and make changes to their learning strategy so that they can reach their goals. They learn how to identify potential obstacles and figure out ways of overcoming them. They also learn how to self-administer their own rewards and celebrate their own successes. This is especially important for trainees that work in an unsupportive environment. A number of obstacles in the work environment can inhibit learning and transfer of training. For example, a lack of opportunity to perform, a lack of resources, discouraging peers, or managers that see training as a waste of time. All of these factors are going to make it that much more difficult for trainees to learn what they're supposed to learn and then use that information on the job. A supportive work environment is crucial to the success of any one training program and to the entire training and development system. Both managers and employees should see training as something that is important to job success, and they should encourage others to attend, participate in, and learn from training. Because the training task somewhat mimics the job task, there will be certain aspects of the job that will cue or trigger trainees' memories. We want that. We want the job situation to provide cues that then help trainees remember the things they learned in training. Trainees should receive feedback, but they should also be encouraged to participate and give feedback about the trainers, about their coworkers' performance in training programs, and about the training programs themselves. Trainees should be encouraged to make mistakes so long as they learn from them. The work environment should provide rewards that motivate people both intrinsically from within and extrinsically. The intrinsic rewards are really the ones that we're trying to leverage because they don't cost anything. Some people may be motivated by a sense of accomplishment or a sense of affiliation, wanting to spend time with other people and interact with them. Training should allow for people to meet these needs in order to motivate them to continue learning and to participate and to get the most out of the training program. They may also be motivated extrinsically by things like certificates or bonuses or social recognition for completing the program. You've learned about a lot of different strategies that can be used to enhance learning and transfer of training. Armed with these strategies, you can now identify some of the features of any particular training program that need to be adjusted in order to improve it and make it more effective.